Well, our next guest was separated from her husband for almost 2 years due to pandemic border restrictions in 2020. To stay connected, Tasha Lowe and her husband, Derville, created a line of educational books for kids, one of them for children with autism. The book is called I Have Autism, but Autism Isn't Me. It's breaking down stigmas about those with autism. Tasha joins me this morning from Surrey, BC, to tell us a little bit more about it. Good early morning to you.
Good morning, Kelsey. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm really thankful you got up so early to talk to us. This book, it all happened because you and your husband couldn't get back together. How did you become
No.
separated?
So initially we were living in Kelowna and we decided to move back to Jamaica to try and get some resources because my husband had gotten into a school to do his PhD program. Long story short, we didn't get the resources. So we're like, okay, let's go back to Canada. But before we did that, we decided to, pop over in Miami because our anniversary was coming up. And from there, I came back to do an interview and we just got separated then because I was in Canada, he was in Miami, and the borders were closed. So that's where it all started.
You know, Tasha, it was a time where a lot was happening tumultuously, emotionally, I think, for a lot of people. But you guys put all that energy into writing children's books.
We
Where
did.
did that idea come from?
Well, it actually started with my husband. So while he was in Miami, I was in Ontario, and he called me one day and he was like, babe, I have an idea. I want to do a children's book, Animal ABC. That was our first book. And I was like, okay, I guess it will help us pass time. I've always been illustrating, but it was something I did for myself because it was therapeutic. And from there, while doing it, I recall being in a dollar store while I was in Ontario, and a mother was having difficulty with her child, and I asked her if I could help. And I started showing him the illustrations I was doing. They were getting art supplies. And you wouldn't imagine how that calmed him down. And in that moment, I was like, I want to do this. I want to do more. I want to expand this and grow it as much as possible. And it just literally started from there. And then I became more deliberate as a social worker for 14 years. I wanted to touch on topics that could, change, but do it in a way that incorporated fun learning activities so persons would be more responsive to wanting to delve into these topics.
Tasha, you draw on your experience as a social worker for this book. I have autism, but autism isn't me. What does this teach kids?
Well, it's not just kids, it's kids, parents, teachers, just community at large. And really what it is that I wanted persons to understand is that persons with autism, don't box them in, don't limit them to the understanding that you may have. Don't basically project your fears on someone who is on the spectrum because you lack that level of understanding in order to help them to just be the best versions of themselves and to just harvest all their various abilities that they have to be who it is that God have called them to be.
Tasha, in addition to everything you were teaching about autism, your book also portrays Black characters with autism. So why is it important to include this kind of representation?
For me, one, being Black, but two, growing up, I don't recall seeing a lot of books, or to be honest, to see any books that had persons with my skin tone. And so as an illustrator, as someone who is on this platform, I thought it was important to ensure that you see persons that represent my community. And also, in addition to that, you find that within my community, you have persons that aren't as quickly diagnosed or diagnosed as often as other persons from, say, a Caucasian community. And it also speaks to the fact that we too have persons on the spectrum in our community that we need to pay more closer attention to that and ensure that we are bringing awareness within our community.
Tasha, it is great to meet you. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you can find the book, I Have Autism, But Autism Isn't Me, on Amazon and at Indigo locations in Surrey. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.